Okay, so the example that we're going to have a look at here is a Year 7 history activity for learning from home, and the topic is on ancient Rome. So the instructions that were sent home for the students via the school's portal was to open the attachment, which is a chapter from the history textbook. And as you can see on the right of the screen here, only go to pages 114 to 117. So that's the first part they have to do. And then the second part is complete all of the questions. So the first thing I'm thinking of here, what are the potential barriers? I've opened the attachment, and as you can see up here in the top left of my screen, there are 36 pages to this chapter. I need to go to page 114. Now, this might seem fairly straightforward, but for some of our students, this is potentially a barrier, wading through unnecessary information to actually get themselves to the right spot. So we'll get to page 114, the Roman Empire. And so one of the things that we could do here to minimize that barrier of finding the right spot in the chapter is to edit the PDF. You can print it as a PDF and just print pages 114 to 117. So then you're only giving the students the pages that they need to look at. So the next instruction was to complete all of the questions. So now I'm going to have to find those questions. So I'm going to scroll down. I'm assuming they're going to be on page 117. And there they are here. Okay, so I've got 8 questions to answer. And so it's a comprehension activity about the Roman Empire. And so I need to go back up to the start of my chapter. The second barrier that I can see here is there is a lot of text, and I need to read the text and a lot of very subject specific language. So I'm going to have to scroll between my questions. What were the main ways in which Augustus created a strong empire? And I'm going to need to go back to my chapter and work out, where is the answer to this question? So there's potentially a lot of toing and froing in the document, but also there's a huge demand on reading comprehension. And then the ability to scan information and to pick out the key concepts that will help you answer that question. So I'm just going to close that document there. No, I don't want to save that. And so I created an alternative. Now the alternative here, again, this is a quick fix. It doesn't look beautiful, but it was a way of supporting students with that comprehension when they're having to read 3 or 4 pages of quite complex text. So I went through and worked out which paragraphs related to which comprehension question. And by doing that, I'm straight away reducing the amount of text a student has to read in order to be able to answer the question, what were the main ways in which Augustus created a strong empire? The other thing I did here was actually just put in some suggestions. Here, read this passage and highlight. Whoops, that didn't work very well. Let's rub that out. Let's try this stamp. Read this passage and highlight the main ways in which Augustus created a strong empire. So I've actually added a strategy in here, giving the students an indication of what they're looking for while they're reading, which is the ways that Augustus created his empire, and to highlight, as soon as they see examples, to highlight it in the text so that when they get to the question down here, they're able to just look at the words that they've highlighted. And I just need to get rid of that. And then as we go through, again, for each question, there's a prompt. I'm just going to get rid of these arrows. Oops. Or maybe not. Not quite sure what I'm doing here. Okay. So again, read this passage and highlight the, no, we've looked at that one, sorry. Read this passage and look out for, highlight, the following descriptions and the people they refer to. So the question the students are going to have to answer is match the following descriptions with people you've just read about. So it's quite a simple response, but look at the amount of text that students are expected to read through. And so what I'm thinking here is, for some of our students, this is no longer about learning who the main characters were of the Roman Empire and what their nicknames were. It's actually a real decoding, problem-solving challenge. To be able to just give these quick answers. So I just tried to make that easier for the students to get to the answer. And as you can see, I just go through, I've just copy and pasted the relevant paragraphs and matched them up with the question that they respond to. You can still see this is a very lengthy piece of work. And for students who struggle with their reading comprehension, this really could be quite a challenging task, because I didn't change the complexity of any of the language. But there's some other tech tools that we could use to encourage our students to be using at home to help them with their reading comprehension. But for some of our students, it may actually motivate them more to listen to the text being read. Up here, I don't know if you can see that in the top right of my screen, there's a free app called Read Aloud. It's a text-to-speech voice recorder, and when you highlight the text,
in order to rule the widespread Roman provinces, Augustus divided them into two groups. Those that had been under Roman control for many years and were relatively peaceful were called senatorial provinces.
Okay, so you can have the text read and follow along, and you highlight the text to hear it being read. And the students might have some fun also playing around with the voice that they want to listen to, the speed at which it reads. You can have the highlighting on or off as well. That's something else.
In order to rule the
something else to think about. So there are still many ways that this task could be made more accessible. But again, I think the question is for teachers, if you're sending home a PDF, ask yourself, how do I want my students to engage with it? And this appears to be a straightforward reading comprehension activity. But when you think about all the new language that's involved and the length of the text they're being asked to read, and that kind of organizational skills of going from the back of the chapter, read the question, and then trying to locate the answer in the text, it's really quite complicated. So ask yourself, can I present this in a different way to make it more accessible to all of my students? And that was that.